know those American funniest home videos they used to have where, people would fall in hilarious ways and we would all laugh and I would laugh? And well, I had my own personal experience with one of those falls recently, and let's just say I won't be laughing as hard in the future. Yeah, because that shit hurt. Um, this is my long-winded way of saying I'm sorry how late this is coming out. I should have gotten this out since Wednesday, but I actually did get. I didn't break anything, thank God, but I got a bit of whiplash from serious fall that I had last week. So I was a little bit out of commission for a while. Sadly, I didn't hit my head hard enough to forget about this movie. Let's talk about the New Mutants. Directed by Josh Boone and starring Maisie Williams, Anna Taylor-Joy, Charlie Heaton, Alice Braga, Blue Hunt, and Henry Zaga. This tells a story of four New Mutants who are being kept in a top secret facility to be studied and so that they could learn to control their powers. And a fifth mutant is introduced to the group. Because they don't know what they are capable of, one of them is causing havoc with the rest, and it's up to them to band together, put aside their differences, and figure out a way to not only survive but escape from the facility. The New Mutants. Here's the thing about this movie, guys. I really did not expect anything from this film. It was in development hell for the longest while, and we were never even sure if it was ever gonna get made, far less released. And then with everything that happened with COVID, and even before COVID, this movie just kept getting pushed back for different reasons. They said they were trying to buff up the script a bit, add some new scenes, and it seemed like that was a good step in the right direction kind of thing. And in the end, what we got was something that was akin to Dark Phoenix, but maybe a little bit worse. Trying to compare them in my head. Yeah, maybe a little bit worse. So let's break it down. And I'll start by saying this was supposed to be the first horror mutant amalgamation movie that we got from the whole superhero thing. It was supposed to be a horror movie. And on all fronts, this movie basically drops the ball when it comes to horror, when it comes to how it treats the mutants in terms of their powers. The look of this film, in terms of being an action movie, it just drops the ball all the way across. Now, I'm a fan of the New Mutants. I've always liked this group of heroes. First of all, it's a very diverse group of heroes. They came out, I think, in the 80s. And it was like something I hadn't really seen before, It was a much younger group of mutants to begin with. And then they all had... I like weird stuff. I like weird abilities from my heroes, and they have some weird abilities. We have Danny Moonstar, who has the ability to bring people's fears to life and use it as a weapon. I thought that was really cool. We have, of course, Ileana Rasputin, who's supposed to be the little sister of Colossus, of course, but she's known as Magic, and her backstory is really complex, but she can teleport from one place to another, kind of like Nightcrawler, but she also has a lot of magical abilities and badass fighting abilities she learned while she was trapped in limbo. We have a character who can turn herself into a wolf, and she can also do the whole wolf-man hybrid thing, so aka a werewolf. And then we have more ordinary type things with Cannonball and Sunspot. But they were all a really fun group of mutants, and they tend to go up against magical, mystical stuff that I'm really into, that kind of stuff in comic books. So the idea of bringing them to screen wasn't a bad one. It's just that here it's really, really poorly executed. So breaking it down, I will give the film props for a couple of things. One, I actually like I think the powers look good. I think especially Magic. I think her powers looked really good. The special effects here are not bad. They're not the best. You can tell this was actually, they didn't really spend much money into this. It's a much smaller film than what we normally see from anything that's mutant based or superhero based, if you want to put it that way. It's a much smaller location, smaller story, everything like that. But it could have worked. It really could have worked, especially if they had the balls to dive into the horror stuff a little more, a little deeper. I think they could have gotten something pretty spectacular from this if they had done that. The acting here is, my favorites would have to be Anna Taylor-Joy. Anya, is it Anya Taylor-Joy? I thought she did a really good job as Magic. The look she had, first of all, they nailed that. It definitely looks like the character. Every time she popped up on screen, I was like, yeah, they nailed that look. But the problem there is what they did with this story. So I'm not blaming the actress. I'll get into the story elements a little bit further down. I thought Maisie Williams was fine as the character. Rain St. Clair, you know, she definitely shows that vulnerability that character has. That character has been through a lot in the comics, and she's quite shy in the beginning, you know, and quite afraid of what she is, because she had a super religious background. So I thought she handled that well. But besides the two of them, nobody else really did anything to make me connect with their characters. And again, I don't really want to blame the actors too much here, because the screenplay is atrocious. But yeah, they don't really. Alice Braga, I think, was a big disappointment for me as Dr. Cecilia Reyes. This has to be the most boring villain I've seen since Thor: The Dark World. Most forgettable villain. And she is not even really a villain in that sense of the word, you know, because I'm gonna get a little spoilerish here, guys. You know, I just really not that invested in this movie. I don't think anybody else is that invested in this movie, so I'm gonna touch on a few spoilers. Nothing too heavy, just quite mild. And I'll say this, she's not the main villain of this story, and if this movie had been better done, I know we would have gotten to finally see this one villain that everybody's been clamoring for. Maybe we'll get him later on, as Marvel now owns everybody, owns all of these characters. But it's a villain they've been hinting at in the Wolverine movies, and we've never seen. So she's not the main villain here, but still, she's the one we're supposed to be. She's supposed to represent that evil corporation. And she's just, I don't know, Alice Braga seems completely either lost, like she knows nothing about superheroes or nothing about these characters. She did no research into this. So she comes across quite bland in the role, or she just didn't care. I don't know what else to say about that. Story-wise, here's the problem. Like I said before, this could have been really dark and really good. This could have been really well handled, especially when you think about what Danny Moonstar's power is. The ability to bring fear into reality, give it life, and it could actually cause you physical harm. That could have been something really cool to see. I've kind of given up right now on seeing a cool werewolf brought to the screen, because people just seem to have no respect for practical effects when it comes to these things. A lot of the studios don't. So I've given up on that. I'll go back to my classic movies to see a good werewolf. So the CG werewolf, I'm not even gonna rate that. But they could have done so much with Danny's character. They could have done so much more with Magic's character. Even Sunspot, I mean, the effect looked cool, but I wanted to see more fire, more of it, more of his power. Everything in this movie is underutilized and makes zero impact. I will say this, the movie is not as bad as I think people are saying in it. I wouldn't rate this movie as low as I've seen, like 2 out of 10 and 3 out of 10, but I also would never give it a high score either. It is definitely a one and done, watch it, never watch it again type movie. And I'm sad about that because I really like the idea of a horror based mutant movie. And because this has come and failed, because there was no real heart put into this, I'm sure it's going to be a long time since we see anything like that. I don't even know if DC would ever be willing to do Justice League Dark, because they will probably look at this and say, well, nobody wants to see a horror movie with mutants or a horror movie with heroes. And it's not true. You know, it can be done. There are so many epic characters in the comics that definitely fit into that horror mold. But this movie fails on so many levels: storytelling, acting, screenplay. It failed the actors, in my opinion, because what it did is, like with the character of Magic, like I said before, I think Anya does a great job with that character, but she doesn't have anything to work with. And what they do with that character is they make her personality switch so quickly that it's not believable. You know, this she goes from being bitchy to superhero in no time flat, in one film. It should not have happened that way. Magic's storyline is not as complex, but it's a lot more complex. It's like Dark Phoenix. It's not a story you can fit in one movie. That's not possible, right? She definitely has an arc that could have been spread out between at least 3 films, maybe. You know, she's been through so much in comparison with the other characters here. And because they didn't want to do that, they just stuffed it all here. And I'm supposed to believe that she went from hating everybody and dealing with her own vulnerabilities and somehow overcoming that and turning to save the day kind of thing, all in one go. It's just not possible. So this is just a mess of ideas stuffed together, and they hoped for the best, and or maybe they didn't care, and this is what they gave us. So guys, the New Mutant gets a 4 out of 10, 4.5 maybe. I didn't like hate this movie, maybe because I went in not expecting anything from this movie, but it's definitely a disappointment. And I'm just hoping that both DC and Marvel don't give up on giving us more variety with our superheroes because of this movie. And that's it for this one, guys. Again, I apologize that it's going to be up late, but you know, life happens, and sometimes it happens as a door to the face. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button. It's always appreciated, guys. If you're new and you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can click on my face right about there, and you can check out past videos if you're in the mood. So until the next one, guys, bye bye.